You know that split-second panic when you realize you're out of pads or tampons. Now imagine that panic with no bathroom you can trust, no money, no spare underwear, and nowhere private to change. Every month, let me ask you something most people never have to ask themselves. What does a period become when you don't have a home? For many women living outside, menstruation is not a few uncomfortable days. It's a survival problem. It's the fear of leaking through the only pants you own. It's the fear of being turned away from a restroom at the exact moment you need one. It's the fear of infection because you had to improvise with whatever you could find. And while the world argues about big policies, these women are fighting a very small war. A war against stains, against pain, against humiliation, against time. I first heard that truth from a woman I'll call Maria. She looked at me, half smiling, half tired, and said, "I could teach a whole class on what I've used as a pad." That sentence sounds like a joke until you hear what it cost her to say it. Welcome to Homeless US. Tonight's documentary is not here to shock you with graphic details. We're here to show a reality that is usually hidden behind locked restroom doors. And I want to ask you a question that will guide this entire film. If a society can't make room for women to manage a basic bodily function with dignity, what does that say about all of us? Stay to the end, because we're not only telling you what happens, we're also showing what actually helps, and how small changes can save health, time, and dignity. Part 1. The invisible tax of bleeding. Periods have always existed, but the way they affect your life depends on what you have access to. If you have a home, a period is inconvenient. If you don't, it can be disabling, because homelessness adds an invisible tax to everything. A pad costs money. Pain relief costs money. Clean underwear costs money. Laundry costs money. Public bathrooms are disappearing, restricted or guarded. And privacy is often treated like a luxury. So let's ask the first uncomfortable question. When a woman has to choose between food and period products, what is she really choosing between? She isn't choosing between comfort and comfort. She's choosing between hunger and humiliation, between survival today and health tomorrow. And the truth is, menstruation doesn't pause for homelessness. It doesn't pause for winter. It doesn't pause for trauma. It doesn't pause for grief. It arrives on schedule, like a bill you cannot ignore. Maria told me something that stuck. The world thinks I'm irresponsible, but I plan more than most people. I have to. That's the part people rarely see. Women experiencing homelessness often become planners, strategists, and risk managers. Not because they want to, because the margin for error is small. One leak can cost you your last pair of clean clothes, a job interview, a place to sit indoors without being asked to leave, your confidence to even look people in the eye. And that's before we talk about cramps, exhaustion, and the stress of always being visible. So here's the next question. If you were already struggling to be treated like a human being, what does it do to you to lose control over something as basic as your own body? Part 2. Makeshift doesn't mean safe. Let's talk about improvisation carefully, because you might hear what women use in emergencies and think, wow, that's resourceful. It is resourceful, but it's also risky. And we need to be honest about that without judging anyone. When people don't have access to safe supplies, they use what they can find. Sometimes it's paper products. Sometimes it's fabric. Sometimes it's whatever is available in a public restroom at 2 a.m. But here's the reality. Improvised materials can cause irritation, rashes, and infections, especially when changing regularly isn't possible. And changing regularly isn't always possible because the bigger crisis is not the pad itself. It's access to a bathroom. So let me ask you, what's the point of a solution if you can't use it safely or privately? Maria described the street the way other people describe a work shift. You're always on a schedule. You're always checking your supplies. You're always thinking ahead. She told me women trade information like currency. Which restrooms are unlocked? Which businesses are more tolerant? Which places are safer in the morning? which locations have soap, not just water, which staff members are kind, and which will call security. This is not a hack. This is an underground map of survival. And it's shared quietly because being noticed can mean being banned. Even the most basic act, changing a pad, turns into a problem of geography. Where can you go? How far is it? Will you make it in time? Will the door be locked? Will someone accuse you of loitering? Now imagine doing all of that while cramped, while tired, while carrying everything you own. If you've never experienced that, let me ask you something. Do you still believe periods are not a big deal? Or do you see how quickly they become one when dignity is removed? Part 3, the bathroom economy. If this documentary had one main character, it wouldn't be Maria. It would be the bathroom. Because for women on the street, a bathroom is not just a bathroom. It is a changing room, a washing station, a clinic, a laundry sink, a mirror, a place to cry without witnesses, and sometimes the only private space they'll have all day. So here's the question that sounds simple but isn't. How do you manage a period when bathrooms are treated like private clubs? Some public restrooms are locked. Some require a code. Some are customers only. Some are out of order in a way that lasts forever. And when access shrinks, women adapt in ways that can look suspicious to outsiders. A woman carries an empty shopping bag. She walks with purpose. She tries to look like she belongs. That's not criminal behavior. That's survival behavior. One woman told me, "I don't need to steal anything. I need to pee, and I need to change." Think about how painful that is. She's asking for permission to meet a basic human need. Now let's talk about places that quietly become lifelines. Libraries, the quiet refuge. Libraries matter more than many people realize. Libraries offer warmth, seating, and bathrooms that are often more accessible than other public spaces. They're also one of the few places where you can exist without being required to spend money. And for a woman on her period, existing can mean sitting still long enough for cramps to ease, changing in a cleaner space, washing hands properly, taking a breath without being watched. So let me ask you, when we talk about public services, do we realize how many lives are stabilized by something as ordinary as a library bathroom? Transit stations, access with a price. Some stations have restrooms. Some don't. Some restrict entry. Some require payment. When restrooms become paywalled, that creates a new category of poverty. Bathroom poverty. Women describe keeping small amounts of change, not for snacks, not for transit, but for privacy. That's a sentence that should bother you. I'm saving money for a bathroom. Now imagine choosing between a bathroom and a laundromat. Both matter during a period. Both cost money. Neither should be treated like a luxury. Small businesses, kindness that changes everything. There's a version of this story that rarely makes headlines. The deli owner who doesn't ask questions. The laundromat manager who quietly allows access. The cafe worker who looks away instead of calling security. These are small decisions that protect dignity. And I want to ask you, how many crises could be softened if more people had the power and the courage to be quietly kind? Part 4. Clothing. One pair of pants, 5 days, no mistakes. If you have a closet, you have options. If you don't, you have math. One pair of pants. 1 or 2 pairs of underwear. A period that lasts days. That's not a lifestyle problem. That's a logistics problem. Women told me that during menstruation, clothing becomes equipment. Dark pants matter because stains are expensive. Not just financially, socially. Because stains can change how strangers treat you. They can get you removed from a waiting room. They can get you judged in a shelter line. They can make you feel too ashamed to ask for help. So here's the question. How many women stay outside longer than they need to? Simply because they're afraid of being seen while bleeding? Laundry is another wall. If you're housed, laundry is annoying. If you're unhoused, laundry can be impossible. You need soap, water, time, a safe place to dry items, and protection from theft while you wait. And drying is not guaranteed. Wet clothing can become a health risk in cold weather. Wearing damp fabric can cause skin problems. But you also can't walk around naked or half-dressed while you wait. So women create routines. Washing small items when they have access. Drying them wherever warmth exists. Rotating clothing like a shift schedule. Protecting the few items they own as if they are priceless. Because they are priceless. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not a clever life hack. This is what happens when a basic need isn't met. And it reveals a bigger truth. Homelessness doesn't just remove housing. It removes the ability to maintain yourself. And when you can't maintain yourself, society punishes you for the mess it helped create. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. Is it fair to demand cleanliness from people while removing the tools required to stay clean? Part 5. Pain. Cramps don't care about poverty. Now let's talk about something that gets overlooked. Pain. Menstrual pain doesn't pause because you're broke. It doesn't shrink because you're sleeping outside. And stress can make it worse. But pain relief isn't always accessible. Some women told me they try to get help at clinics when possible. Others ration what they have. Some simply endure it. And the endurance can look invisible from the outside. A woman might be sitting quietly, appearing fine. But inside, she's fighting waves of pain and exhaustion while also trying to stay safe. So here's the question. How do you rest when you don't have a safe place to lie down? Heat can help cramps, but heat is not guaranteed. A warm drink can help, but that costs money. A quiet place can help, but quiet places often come with rules. And because pain changes your focus, it can also increase risk. When you're hurting, you make choices faster. You take shortcuts. You accept less safe spaces. This is why periods can increase vulnerability. Not because women are weak, because the environment is hard. Now let's talk about the most important part of this section. Women support each other. This story is full of hardship, but also contains something powerful. Solidarity. Women share what they can. They trade supplies. They warn each other about unsafe places. They stand guard outside a restroom. They offer a spare pair of underwear when someone has nothing. And I want to ask you, if people with almost nothing can still share, what does that say about the rest of us who have so much more? Part 6. What really helps and what doesn't? If this documentary leaves you with only sadness, we failed. So let's talk about solutions that actually work. Not fantasies. Not just work harder. Not they should. Real solutions. 1. Dignity kits save time and health. A dignity kit is simple. Pads and tampons, wipes, underwear, socks, a small bag, pain relief when appropriate, and information about local resources. But the key isn't only what's inside. The key is that it arrives consistently. Because a one-time gift helps once. Consistency stabilizes lives. 2. Free menstrual products in public buildings. When cities provide free menstrual products in public buildings, libraries, community centers, shelters, something changes immediately. Women spend less time searching. They miss fewer appointments. They avoid unsafe improvisation. They maintain hygiene more easily. Now ask yourself, if we can provide soap in public restrooms, why is menstrual care treated differently? 3. Restroom access is public health. Restrooms are not just a convenience. They are health infrastructure. Accessible bathrooms reduce infections. They reduce stress. They reduce public sanitation issues. They reduce emergency room visits for problems that start with hygiene barriers. So here's the policy question. Do we want people to be clean and healthy, or do we want bathrooms to be rewards for people who can pay? 4. Laundry access is dignity access. When shelters or community programs provide laundry support, the impact is massive. Clean clothes help people. Apply for jobs. Attend interviews. Keep kids in school. Maintain self-esteem. Avoid skin infections. Laundry doesn't solve homelessness, but it reduces the suffering inside it. 5. The biggest help is stable housing. Everything in this film points to one truth. Periods are manageable. Homelessness makes them unmanageable. When housing comes first, health improves quickly. When privacy returns, dignity returns. So the question becomes, do we want to fund solutions that reduce suffering, or do we keep Outro, the question we avoid. Let's go back to Maria. I asked her what she wished people understood. She didn't say, pity me. She didn't say, save me. She said, I want people to understand I'm not disgusting. I'm dealing with something that happens to half the population, without the things you take for granted. And then she asked me something I still carry. Where would you go? Not what would you do? Where would you go? Where would you go to change? Where would you go to wash? Where would you go to rest? Where would you go to feel safe? This is Homeless US. If this documentary changed the way you see a basic human reality, don't let it end here. In the comments, answer this. Should menstrual products and restroom access be treated as basic public needs, the same way soap and water are? Why or why not? And if you want to help in a real way, here are 3 simple actions you can take today. Donate menstrual products or dignity kits through local shelters or period pantries. Support organizations working on bathroom access and menstrual equity. Speak up in your community, because policies move when people stop treating suffering as invisible. Because no woman should have to turn a normal bodily function into a monthly survival mission. And no society should be comfortable with that being true. Will we keep looking away, or will we finally make room for dignity?